In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern. There is a few tropical concerns that we need to discuss today, alongside multiple upcoming major cooldowns, including the ongoing one that we have been predicting for weeks now. It feels very fall-like outside, and we do expect another more major cooldown to follow this one, so things are going to deepen as far as that cold is concerned. As far as storminess, it's going to be higher in some places, also lower in others, so we're going to talk about that today. Let's just dive into things and take a look here at the upcoming pattern. And as you can see, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at this evening, and a lot of our energy is going to be around this Gulf Coast. We see Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia seeing some activity, alongside also the Rocky Mountain Range. But really, there's a large area, mostly in here, that is seeing almost nothing. And that is going to be a big trend for today. Let's take a look further towards tomorrow afternoon on Wednesday, September 4th here. Can't believe we're already in September. And as you can see, we have quite a bit of storminess around for the Rockies, also the northern plains, including the Canadian plains. And then for the kind of areas to the north of the upper Midwest there, we are seeing quite a bit of storminess. Also along the Gulf, there's still plenty of energy in here, but we still have this large area where your jet stream is basically going over top of here. We also have a southern kind of storm stream here to the south, but everything is dodging this area in between, and that is why we're seeing such a huge lack of activity. Here is Thursday on the 5th, and we see our next more major cooldown. This one coming straight from the Arctic as an Arctic blast, diving down into the eastern states, and there is a boundary out ahead of this, a cold front boundary that is definitely something that we're going to be watching here. Meanwhile, the Gulf continues to be well saturated with plenty of downpours and other storms within this area. We are tracking the tropics. Things are very quiet for this time of year, for early September, I must say. We have been discussing this within our Prestige Weather, which you can feel free to join, by the way, in the description, pinned comment, upper right corner of your screen, as well as underneath this video on our store section. It's only $4.99 a month, and we do discuss further things kind of in the weather pattern, go into the more educational side of it, do deeper breakdowns into the happenings around our nation and around the globe, really. We're also doing plenty of upcoming interesting things. We're going to be doing a September photo competition, so be sure to check that out. It's very, very interesting in there, and we've had so many of you join recently. Let's take this a step further towards Friday on the 6th, and we see that this cold front is really taking shape here across some of the southern plains into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes here. Expect the potential for stronger thunderstorms to be featured here on the very eastern front of this. What we see is a large ridge out west, and then this massive trough in the middle here. This is going to be heading fully towards the southeast and taking over here. We still have tons of activity around the Gulf and south central states, as well as Mexico and the Caribbean, so that has not changed whatsoever. As we reach towards Saturday on September 7th, we see that we have a full-blown cool down here now in the east here. Jet stream doing about like this, so conditions are much cooler for the south central states, the plains, down through the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, and even into the northeast and portions of the mid-Atlantic here. It is beginning to arrive. We have this low here, warm front up above, cold front swinging underneath. That is your pattern as we speak. We do have lots of activity off the Gulf Coast and off the southeast coast. Expect there to remain chances of tropical development. This should stay rather minimal unless something actually does look like it's going to develop. This hurricane season has been a complete anomaly. I've been thinking deeply about this over the past few days, and it seems like we've really gotten lucky. Having the most favorable conditions in recorded history for the tropical Atlantic, and to see a almost borderline below average activity season. Things were really popping off over the summer, and it appeared like we were on pace for what had been predicted, but this kind of late summer into the early fall, which is typically the peak of hurricane season, has been extremely fortunate. This is overall very good news, and I would love to be accurate, of course, always in what I called for, and I would call for it again, given based off of what we saw earlier on in the season. You know, 100 times out of 100 times, I would call for what I called for, but I think that we really got lucky here, and you know, there's many credible universities, the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, among other organizations that were calling for extreme tropical activity this season, and so far that has not lived up to those forecasts, fortunately. And it's something that we can't really predict. We saw an above average dry air Saharan dust season. Now at this point, we're just kind of getting lucky. This storm that has entered into our Caribbean is staying very, very far south near Central America and South America, which I've discussed is usually a sign that things are going to really be, not very easy to develop. So we've been extremely lucky. The Saharan dust has died down, but we are still getting lucky almost time and time again here. So very, very fortunate stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about Sunday on the 8th. We still are dealing with this cooldown by this point, well over the east here. Really, really just taking hold. Here's kind of the center of that over eastern Canada there, near Toronto actually. And expect some dreary conditions near there. Some rainfall is involved, as you can see. Clouds a little bit more widespread than that even. So we are dealing with not only the cool air, but the sun is not making it through, which worsens things and makes it actually even deeper cold. Let's take a look here at Monday on September 9th, and it's a lot of the same here. Tuesday, September 10th, we begin to see this cool down. The heart of it is over the northeast, but it is moving out by this point. Still dealing with the warmth out west, so we should still see primarily cold in the east, but it is not quite as intense as it once was. Wednesday here on the 11th, it's very, very similar. Thursday the 12th, very similar, and Friday the 13th in September here, very spooky day. We're dealing with similar conditions, still cooler over the east, I would say, and still warmer over the west, but not quite as intense as things once were. The jet stream doing something like this, a much softer blow, both on the ridge and the trough front there. Now, as we take a look here at our ensemble tracks for this system, we do see that there is quite a bit of hesitation here across the Gulf. If this does kind of stall out, sit over the Gulf, and then head northward before hitting land, I could see the case for this to still develop. But this is much, much better than what we saw over the past few days. This is a much improved outlook. And odds are significantly decreasing not only for development, but also for a Gulf Coast strike. Again, I can still see the case for it still being something that needs to be watched, but not nearly as bad, not even close as what we once saw. Now, there is a couple areas of interest, one here, and then one coming off of Africa, and those do need to be watched, but we're looking weeks out as far as if this was to even head towards the United States, that's when we would be dealing with this. Now, your European AI model does kind of do exactly what I just said. It stalls here over the southern Gulf here, and then what we're going to see this northern turn in it at some point. So this is Monday the 9th. Here is Wednesday the 11th, and we start to see this slowly but surely moving northward, and then it eventually takes this eastern turn as well. And by Friday the 13th, we do see this one actually developing into a quite hefty system at 988, slamming into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama there, bringing some much-needed rainfall to the east, but not very much needed. Heavy winds, potential flooding, and just overall way too much all at once. Obviously, as a 988 tropical cyclone, this would be a quite intense system, likely a hurricane. Now, this is just one model. Again, there's strong reason to believe that we are looking better than we were, but there is still the case for that U.S. strike, like I mentioned. So I don't want everybody to think we're ultimately safe, as that's not for sure the case. Now, precipitation tells the full story, but we are looking at almost coast-to-coast below average precipitation for all of these areas, unless you're along this Gulf Coast. So again, more activity there than what's normal, less for a majority of the nation there. And here is those anomalies. Look at how dry things are, especially east of the Rockies here. We're dealing with below average conditions for most everywhere, again, except this Gulf Coast where we are highly above average as far as precipitation, so a big difference there. Here is the temperature anomalies. Here's that current cool down we're dealing with, and it is hefty, 10 to 15 degrees below normal there in the greens we are currently dealing with. Very, very cold compared to normal. And, again, we've been forecasting this for a while. Glad to see this is panning out. We do see it stick around for quite a while. It stays over the east until this next one arrives around the 6th, 7th time frame. Here is Saturday the 7th. The greens are 10 to 15 degrees below normal, like I mentioned. Those purplish blues within the greens are 15 to 25 degrees below normal, so an even further departure from what's typical, with very, very warm conditions over the west. As we keep going, this really just sits over the eastern states. Here's the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It's still over the east, 13th. 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and we're starting to get warmer for the central states here, but still dealing with some cooler air down the East Coast and also for the Northwest. This reminds me of actually the kind of June timeframe of last year. And really a lot of areas were dealing with hot conditions June of last year, but the East Coast was just staying below normal. We had this kind of like backdoor cold front look, which is really where we have the warmth for a majority of areas, but this cooler air is able to kind of sneak its way around the Appalachian Mountain Range, which, as you know, is kind of in here. So it sneaks around there, and it sends that cold air to the east of it, and the warm air is stuck on the western side of those mountains, so it's not really able to interact. So that is that kind of backdoor cold front look, and it finally looks like it's warming up towards the 19th here, but that would be the majority of September being below normal as we forecasted. We did upload our September forecast on September 1st, which was actually our previous upload. I missed yesterday's because me and my girlfriend had our 1-year anniversary. It was beautiful, and it was a very, very good time, but I didn't upload a video yesterday. You guys know I rarely don't upload, but it was a special day, so I decided not to. And hey, things are quieter, as you can see. So I saw this, decided I didn't really need to upload, and that's what we did here. Let's take a look here at our CFS daily model. This is more of a long range one. Here's the 4th through the 9th. We'll move it forward to the 5th through the 10th here. And we see far below normal temperatures in the east. Same thing for the 10th through the 15th. And then finally, the 15th through the 20th, we're getting a little less cool, but we see the same thing along the east. There's still some cooler air for the most part. Here's the 20th through the 25th, same thing. 25th through the 30th, and we're actually cooling back down for a majority of the east here. And really, we end September with almost all the way below average temperatures for most of the time. Here's September 30th through October 5th. October 5th through October 10th, finally looking warmer in the east a little bit there. But the 10th through the 15th, we're back to the cold here. Very, very interesting stuff. Finally, let's take a look at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. And we have 3 threats to watch, but they're all code yellow, which is going to be under 40% chance. Here's that one we've been tracking down to a 30% chance. It peaked at about 50, which would be a code orange. It was at 40 for most of the week, really, or the previous 5 days, I should say. And it's lowered all the way down to a 30 now. So we'll have to see what happens. There's still a chance, but chances are dwindling. This one here, 10% chance over the next 48 hours and next 7 days. And then 1 year Africa is a 20% chance over the next 48 hours. And over the next 7 days, a 30% chance. Possibly our best chance of development is this one, very, very close to Africa. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to check out Prestige Weather, like I mentioned. Also, be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.